Are you watching the PP News Live? Where the events of planet Earth and the secrets of outer space are analyzed like nowhere else. Thank you for subscribing.
Hey, how are you? We're live, we're broadcasting. Let's see what's going on. Well, with this volcano, it's amazing, the volcano here, Kilauea, what it's done. Some impressive images. This lava fountain is one of the lava fountains that have been forming recently. In this one, they call episode 38. It hasn't just been yesterday. Today, this episode 38 has continued, and it has brought impressive lava flows. According to what the United States Geological reports, the lava fountains from the vent reached more or less above 1,000 feet. The last data they gave, the highest point was 373 meters in height. Both vents, the north and the south, and the Omo crater erupted, but the south vent expelled higher fountains, and for a longer time. To make a calculation, we saw it a moment ago, it was, right? It's about the size, more or less, of the height of the Empire State, that iconic building in New York. But in the case, for example, here in Mexico, for those who are here in the country, well, the Torre Latinoamericana would be about twice as tall. Imagine a lava fountain of that magnitude, right? It must be, huh? Super crazy. Here they're very far from the place, but in some images you can see a little better. Well, this image is amazing. By the way, look at the explosion. Well, actually the generation of ash, actually, that's what's been happening, because more than explosions, here there are lava fountains, although there are explosions too. But that's not the most serious characteristic of Kilauea, right? I mean, we're seeing that there's all this ash, all this material that's been coming out. Ashfall was reported in Pajala, a community about 20 miles or around 30 kilometers downwind. The eruptive column reached about 6 kilometers. This column that we're seeing, or that we saw in the previous image, this column reached 6 kilometers, approximately about 20,000 feet in height. Well, that's the estimate above sea level, right? The sulfur dioxide emission rates exceeded 50,000 tons per day. What's more, I think it gives us enough information at that output level to see it on the map here. What's it called? Windy, right? There's a map there. We have a carbon monoxide 2 concentration filter there, right? Is it this one? This is material that usually comes from volcanoes. Can you see it? No? Why not? There it is. Look, it's this one. You can see it. There's the material coming out. All of that is the volcano, not from the volcano. Here it is, not there, taking out this material. Obviously, we'll have to see what the expectation is, but look, at least what they believe, we're seeing it here. The forecast is that material will still be coming out on Monday, Tuesday as well, and Wednesday too. Well, that's already a prediction, right? That's what this kind of analysis estimates, but here there is output. Can you all remember the one from Ethiopia right now? Is material still coming out? No, not anymore. Remember here in Ethiopia, wait a moment. Here in Ethiopia, there was an impressive release of sulfur dioxide material that reached all the way to China. It passed through India, through China. In this eruption that the volcano had, well, it was about 12,000 years ago, they estimate, right? 12,000 years asleep, but this time it woke up, right? In that way. So, do we already know what has been reported in detail about this very famous Kilauea? Well, let's go. Let's get to it. Meanwhile, let me also tell you that we're live. As you know, we're always broadcasting live, both on Pepe Clips, and right here on PP Live. Thank you for joining us and helping by sharing the video and giving it a like. Your support really helps. Hi Fernando, how are you? Gladys, and hello to everyone joining. Marcela Rosa. There are several facts that I find interesting, right? In this demonstration of strength, let's say, of the volcano and volcanic activity lately, There aren't volcanoes everywhere, even right here in America, that have been reported with activity in Russia in recent weeks. So since this solar activity, significant activity has occurred, whether or not it's recognized as the cause. Yesterday, December 6th, very strong activity began at Kilauea. The vents generated or reached a height between 1,000 and 1,200 feet. These fountains we just saw. An episode, which is number 38, an episode that has already been active for more than 12 hours. This created about 12 million cubic meters of lava. Just to give us an idea of the amount, at the peak hour, an unusual phenomenon was observed with simultaneous lava jets from several vents in the North Cone and South Cone. They confirmed there was once a triple fountain. It's historic to have 3 fountains that strong and large, some more than others, but the whole thing was impressive. Kilauea is one of the most active volcanoes on the planet. It has a long eruptive history, especially since the 18th and 19th centuries. Actually, they've had many events. We have to remember December 23, 2024, just a day before Christmas Eve. Do you remember that it went back into an eruptive phase? And since then, starting from December 23, 2024, it has had 38 episodes. Those are the ones they've been counting in this new activity it's had lately. It's a very spectacular volcano, very beautiful and not very dangerous. It's very well studied and calculated in all its movements. So it's kind of similar to what happens, what's it called, in Iceland? No, where they generate lava fountains. No, they don't always allow visits. For example, so in this image there in the background, you can see people. I'm not sure if they're scientists, but I guess they are. And then you see that there are people or groups of people who are allowed in up to a certain point where they can see a little bit of the lava rivers or the lava fountains. It must be an incredible experience, right? In Iceland, that's really allowed, but because of the characteristics of the volcano in Kilauea, as far as I know, they're more careful with that, right? But this image we're seeing is from the photographer David Finley. This one isn't from the lava there. This is from the one that happened in November. No, just to make that clear as well, but the image is very beautiful and it's from these episodes that have been happening. I remember this, but I'm not sure if it was the 30th or 20th. Let's just say that's how it was then. That stream of lava, which I think is the largest there's been in this period, was 450 meters, the biggest one. Just imagine, that one even beats the Empire State Building. In that case, the ones that happened in November were also spectacular. But anyway, there's more information. We don't just want to talk about volcanoes, so let's move on to other important matters. The next secret meeting, the one we're going to talk about, which is obviously no longer a secret, could change the topic, the game, let's say the table, the geopolitical board of the Middle East, and to some extent certain blocks that are forming with more and more, let's say, consistency as movements are happening. Well, here we go. It seems like the world is already different. If we count the geopolitical changes that have happened in the last 5 years, don't go too far, just 5 years, you realize, and I would even say in the last 3. I mean, the changes that have happened are impressive. Let's see if tonight we can talk about the changes that are happening. For example, between the United States and Russia, people are already talking about a change. It's not just, oh, Trump is buddies with Putin. It seems this is another change. This is, well, concerning, but it's clearer that the United States would be aligning more with Russia. It's crazy, but it seems like everything is heading that way. If this keeps going this way, at least for now, that's how it looks. I think it's mostly just appearances, but maybe yes, maybe no. That's it. Is something moving that way yesterday? The same Prime Minister of Poland was asking, he said, "Let's see, Americans." He sent a message, "Americans, we are partners. We've been buddies for 80 years, unless, to sum it up, unless things have changed." He asked the question basically saying, so are you with us or not anymore? Or are we not buddies anymore? Right? What's going on? Well, a secret meeting, just to keep it simple, a secret meeting in New York. But it's not from the United States, nor NATO, nor Russia, nor Ukraine. No, we're not talking about the Middle East. A secret meeting between Israel and Qatar. Now it's out in the open, right? There are some facts about this situation. And it's interesting because it seems the game is changing. Yes, I think there are several countries here that might be concerned. Despite its small size, Qatar is becoming increasingly influential. And I think that, well, in a way, it has managed to understand many things about this whole geopolitical game without getting too involved in the geopolitical issues. It seems like it's paying off for them to form partnerships and make certain alliances. Qatar and Israel met secretly in New York together with the United States. This is the first high-level meeting since that agreement to halt the war in Gaza. This is the first time at this level in several weeks that such a move has taken place. The meeting was arranged with strict confidentiality with the aim of building diplomatic ties after Israel's failed attack on Doha. By the way, do you remember that there was an attack in which, well, I don't know how much of a failure it really was. Some say yes, some say no. Do you remember Israel attacking Doha? It was reportedly targeting Hamas leaders, but they claim they're still alive. Even though some people died, Hamas leaders remain. So, well, it was in that sense, it was a failure, even though the attack did happen, right? But it was a failure. They didn't manage to eliminate the leaders they wanted. And obviously, Doha reacted. They didn't like having a missile fired at them at all, especially since there were people from Qatar who died. I mean, it wasn't precise, but not that precise, right? According to the meeting, which was pushed by Washington, it comes right after the Trump administration was listing, let's say, some points to resume this whole approach they're taking in Gaza to try to pacify the area. Qatar became a key mediator between Israel and Hamas, and this approach would mark a significant shift in future and upcoming negotiations on the issue of Gaza, but also on other issues. The strategic role of the United States and its own pressure to stabilize the conflict is reflecting an attempt not only to maintain the balance, but also to push that balance forward. The dice, so to speak, are more favorable for business, and that's the approach they're taking right now, mainly real estate business. Just look at where the United States has been getting involved lately in the past few months in terms of pure conflicts, related conflicts, where they can rebuild Gaza, the issue of Ukraine, obviously, and all with the focus on, well, ideas of reconstruction, not Syria. Syria is another place that's half destroyed, right? They're already discussing business and reconstruction, but you can add several more where there's clearly a real estate business. We don't know who they're going to give them to or anything, but it's a very suspicious issue, and because they've openly said it. Remember that this Trump planted the idea in everyone, like, hey, what if we make Gaza into something like Las Vegas, basically, right? We put in casinos, hotels, and turn it into a whole party scene. Just imagine. They were already talking about rebuilding, but rebuilding the way Trump wants. So alarms went off at that moment because it was very disruptive. The idea was really like, oh, wait a minute. First let's talk about the houses. The houses these people lost. And we're not even talking about hotels and businesses yet. But that idea was, although disruptive and even annoying, not for many people. It was also an idea that's how Trump plays, right? That's Trump's game. It's like he plants the idea in your mind. It sounds ridiculous, but let's talk in 2 or 3 months. And in 2 or 3 months, that idea won't seem so crazy. It'll be much more grounded, much calmer. But after the craziness of saying, we're basically going to make Las Vegas in Gaza. We're just going to build a few small hotels and that's it. it doesn't sound so, apparently it doesn't sound so crazy after all. At least that's what I think they believe, right? Why did they do it that way? Let's see. Not to mention other topics like Greenland, right? Greenland is still there with the tension. Denmark is suspicious that something might happen, and there, quietly, Denmark has one of the best intelligence services in the world. I mean, they've been very good at preventing risks. I think the only one they didn't get 100% right is this one. Greenland. No, I don't think they expected that the United States would want to take Greenland. I mean, that they would insist on that issue. I don't think they had it. I don't think so. I don't know, but I imagine they didn't see it coming, right? I mean, they saw it coming. Issues with Russia and China, who have shown interest here, but I doubt they expected this. The United States probably thought, hey, this should be ours, right? And well, right now, the warning is little by little. They're making progress. They're making sure the Greenland issue doesn't get out of hand. And suddenly they might want to take it in a quick move and say, hey, this is mine and goodbye, right? Like, see you later, right? I mean, they're moving in that direction. But anyway, let's move on to other topics. Let's talk about other important matters too. So quickly, just about what's been happening in the Middle East, on other matters, on other topics, without going on too much so we don't get too sidetracked. Just as there is this secret meeting right now as well, Israel is facing harsh criticism from the Syrian president, Ahmed al-Shara, who stated at the Doha Forum that the state of Israel is trying to divert attention from the massacres that have taken place in Gaza. By closing and creating other regional crises, with whom? With Lebanon, Syria, and other countries, as if it's seeking to cause more problems and conflicts, so that people don't talk about what happened in Gaza. That's what Syria says, at least. Well, also, according to what is being reported right now, Hamas says yes, that they will hand over the weapons, that they are ready to surrender. The weapons, as long as they hand them over to an authority that is Palestinian and the Israeli occupation in Gaza ends. In other words, if Israel leaves and there is a Palestinian authority, they want to hand over the weapons to them. That's what the Israeli leaders say. This Khalil al-Ala, head of Hamas, reportedly said that the weapons are linked to the occupation and aggression. And once they cease, both would be handed over to a Palestinian state that is sovereign. That's what he says they claim. It's a topic, so we'll see if there's any reaction from the United States, a reaction from Israel, and all of this as well. Another issue gaining attention is Egypt and Qatar demanding Israel's complete withdrawal from the Gaza Strip. I mean, there's a demand there without any conditions, just withdraw and hand over the weapons, right? That's also something to pay attention to. And by the way, Netanyahu also sent a message. The president or the prime minister of Israel, he says, let's see if they forgive him. I mean, if they give him this deal to erase it. The alleged, let's say, acts of corruption he has and other issues and other illegal problems he has in Israel. He says no, not because they gave him a pardon, but because he is the prime minister. There's also a president. And the president can grant pardons, so they've already requested the pardon. If they give him the pardon says that he won't agree to leave politics. He will continue doing politics. He says, forget it. He already retired, was pardoned, and is leaving now, right? He says he'll keep going and they can do what they want, but it's his job. And that he's going to stay there and let the voters decide whether they vote for him or not, but that he's going to be there, right? That he's not going anywhere. Whether they pardon him or not, he's going to continue, at least trying, he says, to be a politician in Israel, right? He says. He firmly rejects retiring from politics in exchange for a presidential pardon, he says. In his corruption trial, he has a corruption trial that has been going on for years, but he says he is not stepping down. If they pardon him, notice that there is an alert about I've gathered several of the challenges that currently exist in health issues at the international level. And I've summarized them in this video so that you have it there clear, right? These are also very common dates when certain outbreaks occur, but one in particular stands out, which is the H3N2 flu outbreak. It has overwhelmed some hospitals in Europe and the United States. The unusual outbreak of the H3N2 flu, a variant of the K subclade, is causing some healthcare system collapses in the United States, Europe, and Asia. The early spread of this virus is between 3 and 6 weeks ahead of what was expected. It's normal for it to occur around this time, but what's not normal is that it happened earlier. These weeks I'm telling you about, between 3 and 6 weeks, it came early. So it has caused some overcrowding in hospitals, not just from colds, but suddenly someone who was feeling a bit unwell got worse and had to go back to the hospital. It's not causing record numbers of infections, especially in children and older adults, who are the ones most affected. Through what means is this happening? Well, through schools, daycare centers, and nursing homes, right? That's what you call them, right? Nursing homes. Well, so that's what's happening in the schools, and that's where the infections are really spreading, and that's part of what's going on. According to what is reported by the same people, for example, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention in the United States. The World Health Organization itself also warns about the risk of compromised medical care. If the pressure continues on health systems where, let's say, life-saving prevention is not being provided, right? Now, another issue that also draws attention, a separate point for the community watching us. In Spain, the flu has skyrocketed. In Catalonia, infections increased by 85% this week, according to reports from Spain itself. Yes, the flu epidemic has entered an acceleration phase in Catalonia with an 85% increase in infections. This is according to data from the Department of Health. That's what it's called, Health. Happy he has made this public. This is especially true for children and adolescents where diagnoses are highest. Another point that also catches my attention regarding health issues and all this matter is that Spain is investigating 5 laboratories for a possible leak of the swine fever virus. It's a virus that, just to be clear, so we don't get alarmed, is harmless to humans. To begin with, just to clarify, nothing happens to humans at first. No, but this is fine. It does affect piglets, obviously, and it's 100% fatal for pigs, yes, and also for wild boars. By the way, that's also interesting. The Catalan authorities announced this Saturday that a total of 5 laboratories will be investigated for a possible virus leak of swine fever, which is affecting Spain and has the top European pork producer on edge. Why? Well, because obviously it could affect the agricultural industry in that country, in that area, especially in the north of Spain. So, well, keep an eye on that. Another issue that also draws attention, strange topics, this specific topic. Do you remember glyphosate? Well, it draws attention because, they've withdrawn a key study, about glyphosate, the first glyphosate. It says Monsanto because it's the one that uses it the most. The scientific study that for 25 years claimed it was safe. Many governments wanting to sell glyphosate argue other countries have shown it's not harmful and similar points. Look, I have this study that says yes, that it's good, that it's, it turns out there are some, as if they didn't really want to. They set it aside, they removed the study, apparently, because the study was done dishonestly, right? According to what they report, it was officially retracted due to conflicts of interest and lack of transparency. Because when they looked at the data, they said, let's see, who's doing this study? And if that's the case, it's just that this scientist is connected to this company and to this as well. Let's see, why did this data turn out this way? Same for this data. The point is that the information was compromised, the information wasn't done properly, so they wanted to use that to show that glyphosate was okay. And even though in many countries it's clear here, for example in Mexico, in theory, I don't know. I don't even know how it ended, yes or no. We'd have to check. But many countries have banned them. These kinds of substances which are later used for or as ingredients in herbicides and all these things, right? So then suddenly the chemical is used in food, and then the food, in the end, we eat it. And, it's claimed that it could be related, that it could be linked to some diseases, including cancer. So all of this? Well, they're looking to investigate further. The journal Regulatory Toxicology and Pharmacology confirmed the omission of data. For example, removing the data about the carcinogenicity, yes, the covert involvement. Also, that there were Monsanto employees participating in the study and benefits they received, money that the authors of the study didn't declare. Well, I have a scandal right now. This goes back to 2002, that's why it's in 25 years, or a little over 20 years more or less. The study started 25 years ago, as I understand it. It was published in 2002, but this research had already been ongoing since 2017. Internal emails have been leaked from those dates, and they have shown how well there was, let's say, interests. Obviously, I think that's very, very serious. And right now, there's this scandal about this study, which has been officially retracted, he says. The scientific community needs better mechanisms to identify and retract fraudulent articles, says Nomi Oreskes, a science historian at Harvard, because this isn't the first time that public studies have been released. And you say, oh, look, it turns out that such a thing was actually good, right? Then the governments pick it up. That's it. They just said such and such without meaning, so I won't specify such and such. They say that now it's good, that we can consume it, and there you are drinking X or whatever. So you find out 20 or 30 years later, right? It turns out that the scientists who did it were being paid off. Obviously, it's not the most common thing, but it happens, right? This has to... Well, find a way to prevent it so it doesn't happen here, because in the end, it can affect everyone. I think for many it was already very clear that there was a problem with this chemical, but well, with this it is confirmed that it is... The company is always involved. It's like the classic villain in a movie, right? They're always involved in all the trouble. With their priests, past and present. Yeah. It's a really tough subject, I don't know, but well, in many countries that company is completely banned for the same reason, because they've done this kind of thing several times. But anyway, let's move on to other topics, other important matters. There are several things that catch my attention today. Let's see if we can show this image of this individual. This man is Diosdado Cabello. As many of you may already know, he was reportedly making calls. Yesterday, he brought up urging Venezuelans to armed struggle and increasing tensions with the United States. In the midst of this escalation they're carrying out, now he claims that they have to prepare for war. This is obviously a very serious escalation. But Diosdado, a key figure for Chavismo, urges Venezuelans to prepare for armed struggle in the face of what is considered a military threat from the United States. According to him, he claims that this United States air and naval deployment is part of a psychological terrorism strategy. And he stated that Venezuela is in a so-called peaceful revolution, but not unarmed, where it is indeed peaceful and armed. It's kind of like, it's weird. The whole thing is weird. Nicolas Maduro and top Chavista officials claim the armed forces are prepared for strong responses. Meanwhile, they say there's already a deployment that's not only big but also unprecedented. According to what they say, there's never been a deployment of this magnitude in history. And now, at this moment, landings are starting to take place in Puerto Rico to carry out military exercises. In the midst of all these tensions, it's not just about arriving and being there, but there have been operations like landing drills, right? They could be psychological or not, or perhaps something is coming, we don't know. That's somewhat like the strategy China has recently used with Taiwan. Every now and then, they even make models of certain areas of Taiwan to simulate as if they're invading Taiwan. This time, they don't make the models but conduct the landing simulation using amphibious vehicles and ships. And while they're making every effort to at least show it. as if it's possible that this situation is going to happen. We don't know. The United States military reinforcement in the Caribbean coincides with the confirmation of contingency plans by the Pentagon for scenarios related to a possible departure of Maduro. There are a number of plans that are not public, so we don't really know if they're real or not. But there are supposed plans about what will happen when Maduro is asked to step down, leave voluntarily, or be removed. But at that point, what will happen to Venezuela? It's going to be chaos. There will be troops trying to restore order. There will be some kind of... nobody knows, but there is a plan. Supposedly not just one. There are a series of plans, depending on the situation, they say. But I insist it's not. Nobody knows, right? By the way, on another note, there's a very serious situation with the passing of Alfredo Diaz. Washington has condemned the death of Venezuelan opposition figure Alfredo Diaz, former governor and political prisoner who died in a detention center in the infamous helicoid, a terrible place over there. To learn more, research what the helicoid is and how it functions. It's truly terrifying, right? They claim that this is yet another reminder of the vile nature of Maduro's criminal regime. That's the report they send, or what they claim in the face of this terrible situation. And the thing is, on that same day, Alfredo Diaz was a key figure in the opposition and a member of Democratic Action who had supposedly lost his life. And here's the thing, supposedly due to a heart attack. This is what the Venezuelan Penitentiary Ministry says, that he died of a heart attack. And well, obviously there are suspicions that it wasn't like that, right? There are 7 political prisoners who have lost their lives since the July elections. 7. Opposition members who have lost their lives in prison. You say, what a coincidence. Isn't that quite a lot? What's happening over there is obviously a terrible situation. By the way, another thing that stands out is that Venezuela has been showing protests in Bogota, also in Panama, in Lima, to support Corina Machado, the opposition leader, winner of the Nobel Peace Prize, who announced that she is going to receive the Nobel Prize. We'll see how they're going to make this move. It would be very symbolic if she went out and received the prize and then came back. Right? Let's see what happens with all that. But obviously it's a matter we have to pay attention to, whether something happens right now or not. In Venezuela, they've been reviewing what the poly-market bets are and all that. And what do people who see it from the outside or who watch or know about it think? How are operations going more or less in the United States? Regarding exercises, if it's a real operation or if this is an operation, what's going to happen, right? There are several bets on the Venezuela issue, such as whether Maduro will remain in power. From now until this year, at least the bets are that he will stay this year. There's very little time left until the end, and it doesn't look like he's going to leave before then. As for what will happen next year, by the end of next year, 54% already believe he could be out of Venezuela. But it's still a very small percentage. 50-50. Let's say they think it's going to happen. It's still kind of uncertain, right? Like, what's going to happen? It's a little bit... The anxiety of many people who are expecting quick moves is obviously increasing, but so far there is no indication other than these exercises. Their public behavior suggests it's more psychological than about maintaining. Operations there, that's all. No, it doesn't seem like something is going to happen the next day. Not yet, we'll see. But right now, they're sending ambiguous messages. Yesterday, Trump said, the day before yesterday, when he met with Shema and with the Prime Minister from Canada, nothing was seen. They met, and at that moment, he says, when he receives the Federación Internacional de Football Association Peace Prize. It's really strange. He says that Venezuela doesn't represent any problem for the United States. Like there's no trouble. No, it doesn't cause them any trouble. And that made everyone think, and the bets went down. that maybe an operation won't happen. I mean, obviously, so who knows? Who knows what's going to happen? Panama has already raised its hand to mediate between the United States and Venezuela, and other countries have also been reacting to this. Right? The Cubans say they have zero tolerance for drug trafficking, just to be on the safe side. No, like, don't try to involve us here because we're really tough when it comes to trafficking. We're not a problem in that sense. Isn't Cuba sending this message as if they're trying to wash their hands of it and avoid getting into trouble with the United States? So you can see how everyone is moving to their own side. Even Petro, everyone is kind of moving their own pieces. Not to show, well, either that they're doing something about him or that they're not such close friends. Regarding Maduro, let's discuss other important topics. Let's talk about this scandal that happened with a Drug Enforcement Administration agent, a former Drug Enforcement Administration agent. And I don't doubt for a second that he's not the first and he won't be the last. A former Drug Enforcement Administration agent is accused of helping the Jalisco New Generation cartel launder money. But that's not all. On top of that, he was getting weapons and explosives. We're talking about Jay Clayton, the federal prosecutor who is making the accusation. How many agents will there be? For many years now, it's been known, or at least suspected, not just about Drug Enforcement Administration agents, but also politicians, even business people and financiers in the United States who are operating with organized crime groups. Not just from Mexico, but from other parts of the world too. Mexico often gets blamed for many things. But the operations are there too, so sometimes they also tell Mexico, you operate here, or you operate there, or you operate over here. Well, yes, but you guys directly, no, not organized crime. You guys are directly sending us weapons and creating this problem. So is it a joint problem? I mean, no, what I'm getting at is that blaming each other isn't going to help much. And clearly, with this kind of information, you realize that there are a lot of issues here that people don't want to acknowledge, right? I mean, look at this. And that's why these narratives about it being the fault of this politician or that other politician, well, of course, they have a part in it. Fault. I'm not saying they don't, but it's not the only fault, right? And that's how many media outlets or many people want to see it. It's just that on one side, you have the propagandists, and on the other side, you have the anti-everything people. I mean, anti-whatever. And there they are, right? There they are. When the problem is much more complex, and with this kind of thing, it's very clear. Well, the problem is much, much more complex. Insecurity, organized crime, and related issues with those people. Paul Campo would have been accused in New York, along with his partner Robert Sensi, of allegedly laundering $12 million in cartel profits. Jalisco New Generation, and for trying to acquire. I mean, just imagine if you already had the trust of a cartel of that level, one of the top ones, right? And you had the trust of that group to be laundering for them. How many deals must you be making? How many unknown people are involved, and so on? And a lot of questions come up that we just leave hanging in the air, right? But that's it. I mean, you get me now, right? You know where this is going? Both men would have been caught in an undercover operation where a confidential informant posed as members of the Jalisco cartel. For months, the defendants say, there were meetings and negotiations under federal surveillance. Part of the money was converted into cryptocurrencies, without knowing that all of this was a trap. Campo, former deputy director of operations, imagine that. I mean, he was the deputy director of financial operations of the O. Does he know the subject? He offered his services as a strategist. To this organized crime group. The authorities claim to have hours of recordings, emails, location data, and videos that incriminate the accused. The prosecutor claims that Campo betrayed the Drug Enforcement Administration's career, while the defense called the accusation sensationalist. Both accuse. Look at what the defense says, saying this is sensationalist. Well, how is this not a scandal? They shouldn't have responded if it's sensationalist because, well, it's impressive. The situation is scandalous. They're facing charges even for narco-terrorism, money laundering, conspiracy, well, all kinds. Chaos. The case is obviously generating a red alert in Washington and shows and exposes the corrupting power of money from organized groups and so on. This is a topic, I repeat, much more complex than people have wanted to admit. And this is what should be discussed with many of these governments. And yes, let's see, you come to an agreement. First, you take care of it, reduce consumption. You first reduce consumption as much as possible. As long as there's demand, sellers will exist. Without reducing consumption, nothing will change. Addicts will give anything for their addictions. And if that money keeps flowing, there will always be someone to sell it to them. If not this group, it'll be the next. Lower that first. First of all, stop sending weapons. Also another thing, stop sending weapons and explosives and all that stuff. Just stop doing it. I think that would be a big step forward. And we could talk about a long list of things that could be done if there was really the will to do it. To calm things down, or at least erase the issue. Erase it. Well, let's see. No. I wish I could say it could be done. Not at all. But at least you say, let's cut it in half. That's the first goal, right? And then we can talk about something else. But that's not the case. I've been investigating. I've been looking for information about how much it costs. For example, right now at this moment, the kilo of cocaine in the United States. Because with that, we know if the price is going up, it means there's less of it thanks to what's being done. Another thing, what do you think? Not only is there more, but the price is even going up. The price is going down. There's even a large quantity. It's not decreasing, addiction is increasing, and it's increasing, and the price is going down. What does it mean to say there's abundance, plenty arriving easily, when in reality, things have decreased? And I think that also has to do with China and with Mexico, that they're doing their job, whatever it is, and also the United States. Of course, we also have to acknowledge ourselves when it comes to the awareness that they shouldn't use fentanyl. Yes, it's super destructive. So people are actually reducing their use. They're trying to stay away from that and they're turning to coke and other things. It has been shown that in 2024, since the start of 2024, fentanyl use has dropped significantly. Yes, there is a drop in that matter between the work being done here, the work being done in China, and the efforts being put in. Hey, look at how they end up. They end up like zombies. They end up in really bad shape. And there are a lot of people who are dying. So people got the message. They started to stop using that and moved on to other things. They switched to other types of substances that are less problematic. Yeah, not that it's okay. It's just that at least it doesn't take their lives so quickly. So the thing is, it's increasing now. It was nearly $100. I don't know how they sell it, if it's like a little bag, whatever. And right now it's at $60. The price dropped, but the amount stayed the same. That means there's an abundance because it goes up. More people are taking this, consuming this, but the cost is lower. So what does it mean that there's abundance? And there they specify, in these studies they specify. This comes through Colombia. It goes through groups in Mexico over there. Some of the most well-known ones. They're the ones handling this who would be getting paid. They're really doing well now, financially speaking. Things are going great for them. We're talking about how they compare it to the peaks of the 80s and all that, but in even greater amounts. Remembering those peaks from back then, not sweeping up all those people, but with even higher peaks, no. In that sense, well, there are those changes. There are changes happening. They're not good or bad. It's just that things are happening. But is there any clear evidence that consumption is decreasing in the United States? Which, by the way, is impressive when you compare it. Later, if you want, we can pull up the statistics here with graphs and all that. but it's impressive the capacity they have to consume this kind of stuff, United States. And it's mind-blowing. Mind-blowing, you just say. I mean, impressive. And that's why they come here as tourists and think that everyone does it. But then they realize that consumption here is much, much lower than what they have over there. They're surprised. The Americans, I mean, the typical ones. They think something else about Mexico because if it's not coming from there, it's coming from Colombia, and they think it's going to be the same over there. When it comes to consumption, you say, no, you guys beat us by a lot in that area, right? Or is the consumption just mind-blowing? But anyway, I think this is a topic we need to talk about. Another day, we'll move on to something else. Another key topic also about world events. Well, just like every day, right? What's going on? Regarding the weather, what can we expect for today? What can we expect for tomorrow in terms of the weather forecast? There are several very interesting news stories, several changes and twists regarding what happened yesterday compared to what's happening today. Let's quickly go to this image, right? Let's go. We're looking at practically almost all of North America, and notice how today, Sunday, as we move forward, we're currently looking at the issue of wind gusts. Do you remember how it was? Do you remember there was a northern wind coming, or a possible northern wind that was forecasted? Well, from now until the 12th, at least right now, it can't be seen, right? Not that it won't happen, but at least right now, if we look from now until December 12th, that northern wind can't be seen. No, that really catches my attention, but change? Simply no. Another topic that also catches my attention is the temperature issue, which really hasn't changed that much, at least not for the United States. If you look at the topic, the temperature from today to tomorrow is this. It goes directly. The most extreme cold that was here in Los Lagos moves toward the east of Canada, of the United States, basically from New York. We're seeing extremely cold temperatures in some areas, reaching minus 15 to minus 20 degrees, including Maine, where it's as low as minus 17 or 18 degrees. Likewise, also for this area of Canada, for Quebec, Ottawa, and so on, it's not over there where the coldest part is going, but the cold does drop. It drops, it generally drops toward Mexico, even toward Florida. So I have freezing or cold temperatures in many parts of the country. Here in Mexico, even reaching parts of the south of the country where cold temperatures occur, not freezing but cold in some places. Yes, well, if you're in the mountains, obviously there are frosts, but in general, almost the whole country will have single-digit temperatures tomorrow night and then on Tuesday. And by the way, we're looking at the minimum temperatures first. Right now, we're going to look at the maximums. We'll see how the days go by, and all this cold front will be moving toward the west, toward the east. That's where we're going to see what the United States National Weather Service is reporting. Because Maryland, North Carolina, Virginia, and Washington District of Columbia expect more snowfall starting today, Sunday. Yes, it's more about ice and light snowfalls. Well, not that light because it's about 15 centimeters of snow, more or less. But we'll see it in a moment. And then for the 12th, this new piece of vortex is coming down toward the lakes. Again, also with super cold temperatures, minus 20 degrees Celsius, minus 23 degrees Celsius for the states of North Dakota, South Dakota, Minnesota, Iowa, Northern Illinois, Wisconsin. We already know they're the coldest states. Then look at all the massive cold air that's coming down. These are the breaks that are going to happen from the famous polar vortex. The vortex breaks apart, right? It's like a bubble that keeps the cold at the pole, but when that bubble breaks, the cold comes down. Paradoxically, because of the heat, the bubble breaks. That's why they say the vortex is weak, because it's a big bubble, so it's weak. Because it's hot, because the wind is warm, so the vortex breaks, and where it breaks, it throws out all the stream of polar cold, right? So we're going to see that very clearly on the 12th again, right? What we saw in this image, that's at least what you can see around here, right? And what the Meteorological Service has been reporting is basically that there will be vortices coming down, reaching the lakes, and then moving over here and here. It stays cold, it stays somewhat icy in terms of temperatures. But what's interesting is this. Look at the snowfall for the next few days. The new snow, not the one we've already seen. It's still going to be coming to California. In some areas, it's also going to be coming to Idaho, obviously. Oregon, Washington with snow in some areas, Montana, Wyoming, all the northern states, practically or almost all the northern states are going to have snow. As you can see, reaching all the way to New York and Washington, which is the one I was telling you about that will possibly be arriving these days. From now until the 21st, which is when winter officially begins, although meteorologically speaking, it actually starts earlier. This time it will be happening from now until the 21st. You can see the snowfalls in the north will keep adding up. They'll keep adding up until the 21st. For example, in some places, the snowfalls will add up all this week until the 21st, basically, which is more than a week. It's about 10 days, and they'll reach up to 90 something centimeters of snow. In some areas, those are the spots with the heaviest snowfall. Toward Mexico, well, you don't see any snowfall, although there could possibly be some snow in the mountains. As for rainfall accumulation, that's different. You do see activity in Mexico, all along the Gulf of Mexico, basically almost from Tampico all the way to Yucatan. There are chances of rain all this week, from now until December 21st. So basically, that's where the humidity will be in the country, not towards us. We're going to have a bit of luck. Activity for Nuevo León, Coahuila, and especially Baja California, Sonora, and Chihuahua. Humidity will be low. So all this area of western Mexico, northwestern Mexico, even towards, for example, Jalisco, for this whole region, even a little bit of Colima, etc., Sinaloa, etc., all this area will also have little humidity. From now until the 21st, which is when I can see all the west or almost all the west, except for the northwest. There will be humidity, but in general, a large part of the west has a big area without humidity. It's going to be calm in terms of not having so much rain, not so many problems. Until the 21st, the east and central east of the United States will experience high humidity and rain. So that's where the issue will be, right? As for maximum temperatures, and this is where things get interesting, we're looking at Argentina, Brazil, Uruguay, Chile, with increasingly warmer temperatures. And heat waves that we're surely going to see are already starting to be noticeable. Some not yet so far. Nothing extreme, right? I mean, there have been other years when we've seen temperatures in the 40s, but this time it's mild. It doesn't look mild. Look, in fact, actually on the 14th, 15th, and 16th, it's even going to be kind of cool, not hot, but at night it's cool, right? So look, even for the 18th, there it does look much hotter. On December 18th, maybe above 30 degrees, right? I think the weather will be fine and fairly comfortable. Maybe not perfect, but comfortable like spring, right? That's how this summer is going to start. It looks like we're heading for a very calm summer still, right? So, well, that's how it is. But look, if we see any extreme situations, for example, over in Europe, we've been checking. I don't see anything like that. Very striking in terms of temperatures, like super cold, more so for Russia, for this whole area of Siberia, which makes sense since it's always very cold there. But if you look at Europe, it's different. It's not extremely cold, but not with those extremes, at least not right now. No, that's also important. Well, that's how things are between today and tomorrow and the next few days. Let's move on to another topic. Now the comments, let's go to the comments. How has it gone for you? Like the state. Thank you to everyone in the community watching us live. Thank you so much for being here for a little while. Let me put the comments here and let's start greeting each other, right? Celestial, how have you been? Thank you so much for being here for a little while. Was anyone from the community in the last live stream? We discussed Del Atlas, right? Let me know if you have anything to add. Later, we'll do a summary, like we'll upload it here too, but we did it live, right? With that. Greetings to Dilson Francisco, Marcela Aurelio, how have you been? Yeah, this one says, with coca too, also just in case. I mean, it's just that there are people who use coca for years and years, and then they recover, they get out, and that's it. More or less, it's also more or less like with the other thing, with something else almost. Almost the first time you try it. I mean, they end up in really bad shape. Really, really bad. Many of them, well, they don't survive. It has a rate of what they call overdose, a very high overdose rate. And fentanyl does, yes, the other one can also cause overdose, obviously, but it doesn't have such a high rate, right? So let's say at least they've made an effort. But that's where you can see it. That's where you can see that when they want to reduce the use of a substance, they can do it. Of course they can. Look, they've noticed us. It becomes trendy, hey, this substance is bad for your health, and people stop using it. They're always saying, hey, take this, or this isn't good. So people stop using it, but there's no alternative. I mean, Trump said he was surprised when he spoke for the first time with Sheinbaum in this second term. A clear Sheinbaum moment. The president of Mexico said, no, we run campaigns here. Anti-drug campaigns and all that stuff. Which, by the way, I think are not being done very well. I think they need a lot more. I mean, in the sense that they're not on social media, those campaigns aren't being seen. There should be more campaigns, even series, movies, documentaries. I mean, really raising awareness does help, making people aware of everything that those kinds of substances cause. Of course, they help, but there's still not enough information. More data is needed. We need to find more. How do you communicate with different sectors? Was Trump surprised by that? Me? Seriously? I mean, because he says yes, the United States government barely invests in such campaigns. Well, yeah, I would have to put in a lot of money, and with that, you could reduce a big percentage of the problem, a really big percentage. But no, they don't want that. They don't want to do it. I don't know. It's very strange, he says. How is Celestial? Very well, for the same reason. Can you imagine Maduro leading a narco state like Mexico, says Celestial. How has Celestial been? Marcela, how are you? Hi. Adelson, Eric, how have you been? Very good. What's up, Eric? How have you been? What time is it over there? Or is it too early for you? Or how is it? How's the situation? Is this Tino Bora? How have you been? Great to see you, Adelson. Aurelio, you sent the photos from California, right? Is it someone else? Aurelio, Leticia, how are you? The snow is amazing. Leticia, how are you? He says. Thank you, Pepe, for the report. Thank you very much. Greetings, Leticia says. Thank you for the information, she says. It's important to stay informed about your area, so thank you. Greetings, Leticia. German. Yes, I think that from now until the 19th, nothing else will be seen. Only analysis of what has already been observed about the comet. It's starting to be a tangential crossing. We just need some images from the James Webb. Yes, German, I don't think so. I'm not expecting a super spectacular image. What I expect is more information, like you said, to cross-check data, more images. Maybe a little clearer, maybe yes, but not like that. Since there's no close-up of the comet, I would expect a few more images. What else could we expect? For example, maybe inside the natural comet version, would you expect a decrease in brightness? A really drastic shrinking of the mass, right? And it could be checked more thoroughly, right? To see when it came out in July. How much has the mass decreased so far? Has it dropped significantly or only a little? I mean, does it correspond to the release of material or does it not correspond to the release of material? Thinking about a natural comet, which I'll tell you right now, he says it doesn't correspond. I mean, it's too much. The material that has come out for the reduction of mass has been very little. Thinking about what they've been, we talked about it yesterday, right? Who knows how many millions of kilograms of mass have come out? Supposedly, right? Because of all the observed lines. The longest tail has been about 1.2 or 1.3 million kilometers, something like that. That's a lot of material for a comet that's actually smaller than we thought, right? At least in the last update yesterday, I think they believe the nucleus is about 2 to 4 kilometers. That's what could change, right? More data, more information, more confirmation. For example, the speed, which supposedly dropped to 220,000 kilometers per hour, that too, well, that would be interesting. Doesn't it say here, huh? Panterita, how have you been? It's Panterita, right? There it is, yes, Panterita. Rubens Francisco Beatriz Alvarez, how have you been? Very good. It says, Laura, hi to Canada, Laura, how have you been? Good. Thank you to everyone in Canada watching us from California in the United States. Great, thanks. Adelson, who else is there? Okay. Well, I'm signing off. We won't go on any longer, right? Well, it's better if we have a long chat later here with Astrid, and around 8 or so, we'll try to be here. 8 o'clock is Sunday, so we'll try to be here a little earlier and see if we can chat a bit more. No, that's great. Hug, see you later in the report. Good night.
Thank you for watching the PP News Live, where the events of planet Earth and the secrets of outer space are analyzed like nowhere else. Thank you for subscribing.